Hey guys, Professor Bell, Comic Book University, and we're talking about the Captain Marvel comic book that's out now, Genis-Vell, Captain Marvel issue number 1. This is live because I'm not doing all that extra work of the other stuff and whatnot. I'm just gonna chill this week and make this super easy. Hey, also a good chance to see if I'm gonna like mess up really bad or something. I don't do reshoots anyway, so it doesn't matter. All right, so the writer for this book, Genis-Vell, Captain Marvel issue number 1, and there's going to be more. I mean, it's evident there's going to be more, but the writer is Peter David, artist Juan Ramirez, colorist Federico Blee, and letters VC's Ariana Maher. Cover art by Mike McCone and Antonio Fabella, and a couple of variant covers down here. Always nice to see, right? So anyway, this was a good book. This was actually really fun. Genis-Vell shows up at some point and he's forgotten himself. He's lost his memory. And for the most part, that doesn't really have too much of anything to do with anything else in this comic book. For the most part, it literally means nothing. Oh, let me share a couple of images with you. Screen sharing window. Hi there. Oh, let's share that. Hi. So this is the cover. I'm saying it's a pretty cool cover. No complaints here. Yeah. Here, I just read from all this good stuff. At one point, Peter David references many things at several points. He references many things from the Immortal Hulk comic book by Ellis. And by Ellis, what the hell is his name? Al Ewing. There we go. By Al Ewing. So that actually made me pop more than anything else because I'm like, holy crap, the greatest Hulk writer from my childhood is reading the greatest Hulk run of my adulthood. Like, that's incredible. I hope Al Ewing is, obviously Al Ewing has read Peter David's stuff, but I actually talked to Peter David just 2 weekends ago in Montreal. And I also talked to one of his daughters. I think it's his youngest daughter. Anyway, I talked to her a little bit. And she was like, he actually still reads these comic books. I'm like, get out of town. She's like, I know. Almost nobody believes it, but it's true. He was reading this and and whatever. And I'm like, damn, like that's impressive. That is genuinely impressive. Anyway, so obviously Peter David is clearly reading those books because look. Anyway, so that happened. That was a thing. So he loses his memory, Genis-Vell here. And the only thing that actually does for the comic book is that now this guy who he's talking to was actually his friend. They drank together and he happens to be a psychic. And he goes over a bunch of things that have happened to him in the past and his friends and relations and all that stuff. And that really only helps to give us a recap without needing a recap. This is actually important. This gives us all the important stuff here. Guys, I've mentioned Peter David, one of the absolute greatest comic book minds ever in the history of our chosen field of love, hobbycraft, right? This guy is one of the absolute hands down best. How fluently he did this, right? Last image that I got for you is right here. One of the interesting things, like I said, this is the last preview image, but this one right here actually says that, he was with Marlowe for a while. We remember that from back in Peter's run. And then she found an interest in Moondragon. I mean, with assets like this right here, duh. But at the same time, like, I'm not gonna go and tell my wife, hey, listen, I'm having thoughts and I got to go explore such and such and such. And the reason for that is because I'm a good person. Look, I get it. I get it. Peter David, hopeless romantic, whatever. Color me completely unimpressed. If I had one complaint about this book, it's that Marlowe's kind of a slut and freaking, what's his name? What the hell is this guy? Rick Jones, duh. This guy who's had every bad thing in the world ever happen to him. He's kind of a cuck. I mean, at some point, you might as well just say, can I watch? Which I gotta admit, watching Marlowe and Moondragon together, I'm not saying that I'd be completely averse to it, but what I will say beyond the shadow of a doubt is, yeah, if I ever made the horrible mistake of marrying someone who was like, I need to explore my feelings with somebody else, at least I'm being honest, like I'm going to be honest with you too. bitch, you might as well lose the key because I'm changing the locks. It's as simple as that. Look, I got no qualms, no compunctions. Do what you want to do. Be happy, but I don't want to hear about it. I don't want to know. And no, you have no more chance with me. You are with me. That is the way, until death do us part and all that stuff. Look, if you wanted to explore other options, don't make a freaking commitment with me. It's as simple as that. But hey, it is what it is. And I'm just one of those weird people who believes in, till death do us part. I mean, maybe I'm the bad guy for that. I don't know. Well, you tell me. But anyway, I was really, to a degree, offended that Rick was such an absolute wussy. Because here's this guy who has been, teammate to Captain America, teammate to other people, teammate to the Avengers also, teammate to the Incredible Hulk. This guy's been with everybody, And here's Marla, who actually wants to be with everyone. Whoa, honey. That's just not happening. Not on my watch. But basically, Rick goes out, and there's this. The only reason why this is important to me is because at one point, Marlo gets into trouble, and then when she's in trouble, she calls out a name, and it's not actually Heather Moondragon. It's not actually Heather's name. She doesn't call out for Moondragon. She calls out for Rick. So that makes her realize, oh, that's the thing. Okay, let me make an equation for you, and don't let the kids listen to this because it's going to be a little raunchy. I'll give you a couple of moments, shoo them out of the room, go watch, a Disney movie. Actually, Disney movies are more raunchy than anything I'm about to say. But anyway, here it goes. Time is up. Guys, to me, this is no different than I need to go out and find myself. And your girl or your man, whatever, none of my business, goes out and sleeps with somebody else. And then when they are calling out a name, they happen to call out your name instead of the person who they're with at the moment. I'm going to pull a Will Smith at this point, but like, keep my name out your fucking mouth because I don't care. That just tells me you should have thought about that in advance. I'm not interested at this point. This doesn't, you don't concern me anymore. This is a simple case of mind over matter. And I don't mind because you ceased to matter. You no longer matter. So that's a really weird one for me. That kind of like threw this whole comic for a loop for me. But I'm still going to say that this was still a really good comic. Why? Because I don't give two rats' asses about Genis-Vell. I could care less. Honestly, I was too young to even appreciate Captain Marvel until The Death of Captain Marvel came out, which is an incredible book, and it's going to, turn a teary eye to anybody who reads it for the most part, But I mean, like Genis-Vell and Phyla Vale's kind of sort of interesting to me, but only to a certain degree. And she lost all interest in me once she took over freaking Quasar. There's only one Quasar, and that's Wendell Vaughn. Don't freaking have somebody else take up those quantum bands, all right? As far as nega-bands, that's Captain Marvel. You want to have somebody else take up the nega-bands in his honor, I'm more than pleased with that. Just don't bring the man back because he's dead. Let great souls rest. But I couldn't even appreciate Jim Starlin. That's the creator, not the creator of Captain Marvel, but he did so many wonderful things with him. Including killing him, But I couldn't even appreciate Jim Starlin's work until I read when he killed him. And I'm like, oh my God. And I went back and read the stuff. I was like, wow. And then there's Carol Danvers also, of course, which that's the making of a hero. You can't appreciate Carol Danvers and everything she is today if you didn't read back then when they were clearly making her a hero. Jim Starlin was evidently making her a hero while she was just a regular old human. But I mean, like, that's the thing about it. You're going to bring this character in, and I don't care about the character, but you make it a really good story and it's compelling. And I'm like, oh, I want to see what happens next. That's going to be interesting. It's very rare. I grabbed this comic book because Peter David's name was attached to it. All right. I love the art because art being what it is, I knew those colors were going to pop as soon as I saw Federico Bli's name was attached to this. I'm like, oh, I'm going to love the art in this. I don't care if the line work is sketchy and all over the place, and it wasn't. It was good, but I'm just saying I would have loved it regardless. I'm sitting here reading this comic book, and I actually enjoyed myself the whole way through. Marlo being a hussy to the side. This was actually a really fun comic book. Some silly things, like Marlo appearing in a zoo. Maybe she deserves to be in a zoo. Rick being able to handle business without just laying waste to everybody there, instead making it a poetic justice kind of thing. And it was smart, and that's the thing. If you have a smart character and then you give them superpowers, they're still going to be a smart character. That's one of the reasons why Reed Richards is such an interesting character, right? Because it's not about the idea that he can go all stretchy and do silly things like that. No. He's smart enough to figure things out. That's why the MCU is not the 616. That's the 199999 universe. That's different. I don't care what Multiverse of Madness says. That is not Earth 616. That was dumb of Feige and Raimi and all that to say that. That was genuinely dumb to go and say something like that. That is not Earth 616, right? I'm sitting here reading this amazing comic book, and I'm like, this is why I love comic books. Rick Jones never had superpowers. He had to be smart, or he was going to die. And it was as simple as that. So you give the man superpowers, and what's he do? He's still going to think. The powers are a last resort. The powers aren't what he originally goes for, If you're into the martial arts, I don't care if it's a striking or if it's, the grappling arts, at the end of the day, you have certain go-tos that you're trying to set up to get to that, right? Or it's just, you could see that it's going to come a mile away, 10 steps ahead. You're like, oh, if I do this and he does that and then this and blah, 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 I can get to there. Like, you just have certain go-tos that are at your disposal, right? Right away. Me, side control and the triangle. Love those, right? Trying to get into the omoplata also, but we're neither here nor there yet. In the meantime, there's certain go-tos you have. With Rick, it is not wham, 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 wham. It's and Peter David is going to know how to play the Rick character well. He's going to know how to make the character just come alive for us in our minds, right? And the artists made him, yeah. And that's one of the things I love about some Peter David. Always a great way to just deliver a character and make us believe it and make it. And it's not even just telling us, hey, I know these characters. If you don't know that Peter David knows these characters, welcome to comic books. You clearly just started. You're clearly very new to the industry because Peter David is one of the staple names. You do not have, listen to me closely when I say this, you do not have the Hulk if it's not for this man's. Because Hulk was boring AF and was definitely going to be canceled again. Buscema or no Buscema. Until Peter David came along and suddenly people were like, Hulk is a cool character. It's one of the reasons why very few people like the Hulk in the MCU. Because he's not the Hulk that Peter David made. You know what I'm saying? It's not the Hulk that anybody made. I don't know who the hell that Hulk is. Ruffalo. Get out of here, man. Let me read a couple of, actually it's just Warleon. Okay, if nobody else has anything to say. I love how Peter David has been getting a lot of opportunities to write a lot of comic books he wrote before and fill in the blanks between storylines, especially after his stroke. And then he was okay, and he's still able to write, and he's left-handed, still able to write and everything like that. Like it was impressive. It's impressive seeing that the guy still has the physical and cognitive ability to continue putting out great stuff just like he used to put out, back in the day. And he's going back to a lot of the great stories that he's done, the great characters that he's done. He's not just revisiting them and living in his own world again. He's actually paying attention. And again, he does read other people's stuff. That right there makes this guy a highlight reel, you know what I'm saying, who's still writing new stuff. He's not just making new stories. He's literally he's adding to the characters in a way that we can usually trust in his ability to add to these characters. And I absolutely love that. Marvel and Polygamy are so in sync now. Just look at Peter Quill, Nova and Gamora, or the Summers, Logan and Aaron, and Emma. Yeah, agreed. Yeah, there's a little something wrong there. Look, I'm going to say something that I hope that nobody gets offended by. And if you do, honestly, it's on you. I think that if I ever left my wife or she left me or something like that, we've been together for too long, like 12 years. Psh, come on, we're old now. It's not happening. But my point is, if for some reason something like that happened, I would try and discover if there was a sexuality that was purely polygamous. Look, I'm saying, like, if we're going to go out and be stupid, like, I'm old now, I don't care anymore. You know what I'm saying? Most of my kids are completely grown now. I just want to go out and I just want to get all sorts of funky and silly. Because you're going to do this, then do it. And then if your sexuality is polygamous, then your pronouns have to be they, their, they, them, all of them. They would have to be, right? I'm saying, I'm putting that out there as you were. Yes, I would be in one of those crazy situations. Why the hell not? They say that 616 because the omniverse. Get out of here with that omniverse crap. Not interested. Don't forget, Marvel doesn't have to abide by what DC says, you know? Multiple Earth, DC. Yeah, again, wow, you actually did go the DC route. I knew that was where you were going. But anyway, multiple Earth 616s, that's not how Omniverse works. Hey, Professor and Professor Bill in chat. What's up, Joe Fisher? And Machiavellian 49. Hey, been meaning to get into X-Men comics, but not sure where to start. Start back at the beginning or start back with the Chris Claremont run, but don't start now. Now is a horrible, horrible place to start. And just go check out my review for the new Eternals and Avengers and X-Men comic book. The preview just came out 2 weeks ago, and last week the main one came out, and it's hard, and all of the books are going to revolve around that, and it involves the Eternals, and 99.96% of the universe really just doesn't care for the Eternals, if not absolutely despises them, you know? Like, people, your average person will say something nice about the Eternals in passing because it was a pure Jack Kirby creation, but it was nowhere near his best creation, and it is what it is. It was a thrice, because of the Eternals. The Eternals themselves are a thrice failed chance at the same characters that he was trying to do before. So, yeah. And Dodora 73, what's going up, Daryl? How you doing, man? Anyway, guys, that's going to be it for me. I'm going to bounce out of here and go live my life, and I'll see if there's any more comic books I want to read. But if not, it's been real. It's been fun. Just hasn't been real fun. No, this comic book was fun, though. Like the video, watch an ad. Professor Bill, Comic Book University. Class dismissed.